From the Offices of Curriculum and Instruction in collaboration with Instructional Technology, we present PSJA Startech Math Time, adding and subtracting whole numbers and decimals. Hi everyone, and welcome to our first STAAR Tech Math Time. Today we have Sabrina Aleman who's going to be doing our presentation, but a few words first from Rebecca Garza.
Hi everyone, if you can hear me, welcome to our Math Tech Time. You guys are going to get a good field of knowledge here from Miss Sabrina here. For those of you who are joining us from the other grade levels, this is a teak that has that vertical alignment. So whether you're in third grade, we're targeting 3.4a. Whether you're a fifth grade teacher, we're still targeting that 5.3a. So if you look at it, 4.4a does have that vertical alignment. Hopefully the strategies that she provides for y'all will be helpful. Thank you guys.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I know our time is very limited. But I do have a near-pop presentation ready for you guys, so hopefully you were able to join in the link there. So we're going to be working on add and subtract whole numbers and decimals. The first thing that I wanted to share with everyone is the importance of having an anchor chart in your classroom whatever you're teaching for the week. I think it's very important because we do have a lot of students. I mean, everybody has different levels of students. We have some high ones, medium, low, but I do notice that my low ones constantly need that reinforcement. They keep going to the walls, to the focus wall to look. Those anchor charts, they forgot a step, and I see them standing up looking at it. So it is very important to always have an anchor chart of whatever teak that you're teaching for the week. So I put an example up there of add and subtract whole numbers and decimals, which is what we will be working on for this presentation. Okay, this I'm really gonna talk about the importance of this. So I have, this is keywords for word problems. And I know third, fourth, or fifth, it doesn't matter what grade level you're in. We all have word problems. We all have word problems that in every grade level, across grade levels. So the importance of this is, I like to have a bulletin board, and on my bulletin board, I literally have adding, subtracting, multiplication, division, and we add words throughout the year. If there's a word that is not on there, we go back and we add it. So this is like a working bulletin board that we use throughout the year. Another thing that I've seen some teachers do is they do this, but on their math journals. So they can like maybe do it on the back of the cover, and the students, you know, do this little chart for themselves, and they start writing the keywords there. It is very important, and I actually like to play a game at the beginning of the year with this with my students, because we know they hate word problems. They don't want to read. You know, every time it's always, you know, you always have those kids that they don't want to read. They just want to, just tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do. So I start showing them, okay, we get any word problem it is, and okay, we read it first, and then we're going to play a game. Let's see who can find any of the keywords. And they go and they circle, I found them, Miss, I found them. Okay, what did you find? I found the word total. So what does total mean? And they'll go and they'll look, okay, it could mean adding, or it could mean multiply. Or I found the word difference. You know, what does difference mean? And so they go and they look at the subtraction words. So we keep doing this from the beginning of the year. They start catching on to what they're supposed to do whenever they get to the word problems. I do want to talk about the subtraction words. If you notice on one of my bullets, it says how much longer, and then in parentheses it says shorter, taller, heavier, greater, and it has etc. And I asked the kids, I focus on that. What do you all see that these words have in common? So you'll see that it has ER at the end of every single word. So they start seeing that, oh, okay, it has ER. So that means it's going to be a subtraction, you know, and they start catching on to those. And again, if you ever find new words, it can be like a work in progress throughout the year, adding it to the little focus wall or your bulletin board or the journals that the kids have. Okay, so I'm going to model this question in particular here. So this question was from STAAR 2023. It was question number 14, and in the state of Texas, we scored 46%. PSJA on benchmark number 1, we got 51%. So it was a little bit, the question was a little bit different. You'll see it in a little bit. But if you look at benchmark number 2, we scored 38%. So it went down a lot. So this is why they wanted us to focus on this particular scale. Let's see what strategies we can teach to help the scores go up. Okay. So the first thing I tell my students is when we get to this problem is we're going to read the problem the first time. We're just going to read it just for understanding. So I'm going to model to you like if I was teaching my students. So in November, 92,721 people went to football games in a stadium. That number was 14,629 greater than the number of people who went to football games in the same stadium in October. How many people went to football games in that stadium in October? So the first thing they do is they read the problem. The second time we read it, we go look for the clue words. And before they start looking for the clue words, I always have them focus, okay, what is the question asking? So let's focus on the question. So I will notice on the question, let me change colors here, make it. It's asking how many people went to the football games in the stadium in October. Okay, so I know that I'm trying to figure out how many people went to the football games in October. So now I'm gonna go look at the questions, and this is where you would play the game. Okay, can you all see any clue words? And hopefully they should be able to look and they should see the word greater than right there. This is a very different question because normally I see the words greater than in the actual question itself down here. I'll usually see the words greater than down here. I think this is one of the first times that I saw it in the actual word problem, but the same strategy still works. So when I tell the students, okay, you found the word greater than, they should already know that it is a subtraction problem, because if you go back to that keywords, you have the word greater than on there. If you didn't have it on there, then you would add it into your journal. So I find the word greater than, and the next thing I teach them to do is, okay, we're gonna put like a little separator right there. Okay, and then we get our highlighters. And by the way, if you don't practice on the STAAR Practice website, I recommend that you do practice on there. The STAAR Practice website has 4 different highlighters that the students can use for different colors. So I teach my students to use the different colors whenever it's needed. So on this particular question here, everything in front of the word greater than, I would highlight in one color, doesn't matter which color, but I would highlight all of that in one color. Okay. And so I used yellow for that color. The next, everything behind the words greater than, that's my little separator, I would highlight in purple. It's just a little strategy that I show my kids. Okay. So why is this an important strategy? If you look at the word greater, it's in color yellow, and so is November. So why is that important? Because when I draw a box down here, I'm going to draw a strip diagram, because in case you haven't noticed, the STAAR test loves to use strip diagrams. So I would go and I would say, okay, this is my November box. The question was asking me about October, but I know that November has to be greater because the word greater is in the same color yellow as November. So that means October, which is what I'm looking for, he's going to be smaller. He's going to be smaller than November. So right there, you should know, and I think what was one of the problems is the students are seeing the word greater, like a misconception. They see the word greater, so the first thing they want to do is they want to add 92,721 and 14,629. But if you teach them to do those 2 different colors, they start saying, oh, the word greater is in the same color as November. So that means November has to be greater, right? So I draw the bigger box. October has to be smaller. So right there, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna look at my answer choices. So I have A, B, C, and D. And if you look at the answer choices, they're there on the side. But if I'm looking for October, I know October has to be smaller than November. So there should be 2 answers that I should be able to eliminate already. 2 silly answers or 2 unreasonable answers that I should be able to eliminate, which is C and D. Those 2 should automatically be out. So just by doing that picture right there, you should be able to see it. And then, so here we go. I know that 14,000, this one was 14,629 greater, so he goes in here. And November was 92,720. They should already know to subtract just by seeing the keywords. They saw the word greater than, they should already know to subtract. But in case they haven't, I know a colleague of mine taught me this about the strip diagrams, but if they're side by side, you add with pride. If they're stacked on top, which this one is stacked on top of the other, this one's on top and this one's on bottom, that means we subtract. So what do I have to do for this? I would subtract 721 minus 14,629. And then you would go and show your work. All right, so and then just a little I guess suggestion I should make is even in 4th grade, I know we have some 3rd graders, 5th graders, but I have even some of my master's students, I was walking around watching them do a problem, and one of the biggest mistakes I still saw was one of the little girls, they put 1 minus 9 and I see her doing 8. And I'm like, where did you get 8 from? And right away, you know, they're already subtracting, but they're not regrouping. So that's super important. Make sure that I think the important thing is that you're walking around and making sure that you're fixing all those little mistakes that the students are doing. So I always tell them, okay, is 1 greater than 9? No, so that means we have to regroup. This becomes 1 and this becomes 11. So now 11 minus 9 is 2. And then I go to the next one. Is 1 greater than 2? No, so then I have to regroup. So this becomes 6 and this becomes 11. Sorry. 11 minus 2 is 9. 6 minus 6 is 0. Sorry. And then again, I look here. Is 2 greater than 4? And I have to, on some of them, you have to. I know we have some top kids, you know, that they don't need that, but some of our other kids still need that scaffolding to help them. So 2 is less than 4, so I have to regroup. So he becomes 8, and this becomes 12. And now 12 is greater than 4, so 12 minus 4 is 8. And 8 minus 1 is 7. And then we add our comma. So my best answer should be letter A, which we would just then drag into my answer. So that was an example of number 1. So I just wanted to make a suggestion. Yes, this is the first time that I've seen it on the actual word problem itself, but most of the time I'm used to seeing that on the question. But it's still the same strategy. You find the word greater than, you separate it, and one's in one color, one's in the other color, and have them do the strip diagram so that they can see right away that they're supposed to subtract and not add. The next problem was from the STAAR 2022 question number 7. So this was in our benchmark number 1. I believe this is the one that we did 51% on, and the state of Texas did 70. And if you look at this question, it looks super simple for us because it's not a big, huge word problem. So again, the step number 1, they read it without stopping. It's just for understanding. So there are 2 hiking trails in a park. Trail Y is 2.7 miles long. And I know we're not supposed to say point, but at Trail Z is 5 8/84 miles long. What is the total length of these 2 hiking trails? Okay, second time we read it. Okay, let's go look for clue words. All right, so let's play the little game. Does anybody see a clue word? So hopefully they find the clue word. And they should see in the question, it's asking for total. So total can mean two things. We have it on add and we have it on multiply. So one of the things I teach my students is we're adding unless it's repeated addition, and repeated addition means we multiply. So in this case, the two numbers that I have, we're not repeating, so we know that we're going to add. Okay, so they want me to get the total length of the two hiking trails. So if you all notice, we already added a grid paper on the back. And I just wanted to take a moment and talk about this grid paper. Most of us use it as multiplication chart. I do as well. But on one side, I have them do the multiplication chart. And on the back, it's always two-sided. So on the back, I always have them use it as a place value chart. And they start with the hundreds, the tens. I know 5th grade can go up to the thousands, you know, and they go all the way up to the billions or whatever place value chart you work at. And that way they do it one time, they can work out any place value questions on that grid paper instead of having to do another place value chart and another place value chart. Like, it's already there for you and you just teach them how to use it over and over again. So we added a grid paper and we know that we're going to add because of the clue words. So again, one of the things that I see on here, let me get in there. One of the I'm gonna go ahead and put here, I have my ones, my tens, and my hundreds. And I like to draw the line. So that way they can see it, right? And of course you would have to draw all the way up to the millions or billions. In 4th grade, we go up to the billions. So I would go all the way up to the billions, but I would only be focused on that part. So I know I'm going to add, it doesn't matter since I'm adding, it doesn't matter which one I'm putting on top. So I'm gonna start with the first one. One of the main things that I can tell you and what I tell my students is we're going to focus on the decimal first. So I have 2.7 or 2.7. So they know that the decimals need to be in a straight line. So I already have my decimal up here. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw my decimal. Once you draw that decimal, then okay, I look at the 2. Where is the 2? He goes in front of the decimal. So that means the 2 goes here in the ones house. And then there's the 7. Where does the 7 go? He goes after the decimal. So that means the 7 goes here in the tens house. And after I have that done, there's nothing in the hundreds house. Okay, I'm not gonna put anything there yet, or I could put a 0 as a place value holder. But it depends on what the next number is. So the next number is 5.84. And again, the kids just want to go and they want to start writing it. No, the first thing that I would tell them is draw the decimal first. So they draw the decimal. So now that I drew the decimal, where does the 5 go? Well, the 5's to the left. So who's on the left? The ones. So the 5 will go there in the woods house. And then that means the 8 goes where? So the 8 goes in the tens house, and then the 4 will go in the hundreds. And so now that I see, oh, okay, I don't have anything on top in the hundreds, so you can put that 0 as your placeholder. And again, we know that the word total means I was going to add. And now the decimal, it's up to you guys if you want to do it at the end or at the beginning. But since I always push on my kids to do it at the beginning, it's something that I tell them, okay, what's the first thing we're going to do? Bring down the decimal, you're done with him. And now the only thing left is for us to add. So 0 plus 4 is 4. 7 plus 8 would be 15. Regroup. 5 plus 2 plus 1 would be 8. So that's how we get our answer there. And then of course here we would go and drag, and that's a whole nother thing. We have to teach the kids and make sure that they're putting it in the right place value. I've had some kids who are putting the 8 here, and then the 5 here, and the 4 here, and we know that's not right. So again, they need to see that, they need to learn that, hey, that's the decimal right there.
And real quick, Sabrina, if I can interject, also now that they're doing the equation editor, make sure you teach them how to type in, because it might be 8.54 that they have to type in.
Yes.
So with those new equation editor type problems, there's no more grid, but they still have to type it in or put it into the, however the question is done. So
Yes.
just wanted to mention that.
I believe this question though had the little boxes, so I just wanted them to make sure they knew that the decimal, because that was one of the biggest mistakes I saw on benchmark 1 for my students. They got the answer correct, but they were putting it in the wrong boxes.
The place value, correct.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So again, it's just teaching them that that this is a decimal right here. Just teaching them that that's the decimal, and then okay, the 8 goes in front of the decimal, and then the 5 and the 4. So it's just something, but yes, you're right, Patty, thank you. So now this next question is going to be a practice for you guys. It's a little bit of mix of both problems that I just did. So it is literally a practice question. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a break from me talking and see if you guys like this strategy, if you're able to use this strategy. So if you can take a minute to just work it out, please. Okay, so just very quickly, thank you for those of you that were participating, and hopefully the strategy I showed you earlier helped. But the first thing we would do is we would read the problem. So it says, Ali made a paper chain that is 3 meters long. Maggie made a chain that is 1 8/10 meter long. How much longer is Ali's chain than Maggie's chain? So this is an example of when the word longer than the clue word is actually in the question and not on the word problem, but it's still going to be the same strategy. You would find the words longer, and I would do my, I would find the word than, longer and than. Put in the wrong place. I find the word longer than. So here is the word than right here. So that means everything in front of the word than will go in one color. So how much longer is Ali's chain? So if the word longer is in the same sentence as the word Ali, that means Ali is going to be the one with the greater box. So this is going to be Ali. And Ali is how long? 3 meters. Okay, and that means on the other side, I would highlight Maggie's chain. So, and then the question, they're looking for Maggie's chain. So Maggie's chain is going to be the smaller box. So I'm going to put an M here for Maggie, and this is what you're trying to figure out. And now we know, if you look on top, it says Ali made a chain that is 3 meters longer. So on this one, we couldn't stop to look to see like if there was any silly answers, because they actually have to know the answer. And then Maggie made a chain that is 1.8 meters longer. So if hers is 1.8 meters longer, I'm gonna draw this strip diagram right here, and that means 1.8 meters. So we're working with a whole number and a decimal. So again, we would do our place value chart. We have our ones, our tens, and our hundreds. And I know one of the biggest concerns here is, hey, Ms. Aleman, the 3 doesn't have a decimal. So where am I supposed to put it, right? So I know when I learned this from one of my friends, Miss Ramirez. She's a really good friend of mine. And I heard her tell her kids one time, she's like, I tell my kids to pin the tail on the donkey. They're like, okay, where are you gonna pin the tail, in the beginning, in the middle, or at the end? And they're like, well, at the end. Well, it's the same thing. If it doesn't have a decimal, your job is to put it at the end. Like, you just pretend you're pinning the tail on the donkey. So we go at the decimal there. Now that the decimal is added, now I can come over here to my decimal place value, and I should be able to know where to put the 3. So again, before I start doing anything, I'm going to add the decimal there, and the 3 goes in front. Okay. And then of course I add the decimal on the bottom. The 1 goes in front, and the 8 goes at the end. Now, if you remember, it was one of my ER words right there. So you should already know that it's subtract. Or if they need the picture, if they needed the strip diagram to see it when they're stacked on top, we subtract. So we're going to subtract. We can always add a 0 for the placeholder. And then again, making sure that if you look at the 0, is the 0 greater than 8? No, so you're going to have to regroup. Let me just change colors real quick. So this would become 2 and this would become 10. So 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down that decimal. And 2 minus 1 is 1. So then again, of course, it's lining up the decimals correctly, knowing that this is the decimal right here. So the 1 goes in front and the 2 goes at the end. How much? Oh, and then this one, we have about 3 minutes left really quick. So I'm just gonna show you a little trick. So this is an example here on this one. It is a 2021 STAAR question, number 4, and the state of Texas got a 61. So on this one, of course, we would read it. It says the list shows the number of visitors who arrived and the number of visitors who left the Science Museum for the first 3 hours after it opened one day. In the first hour, 294 visitors arrived. In the second hour, 408 visitors arrived and 89 visitors left. In the third hour, 313 visitors arrived and 175 visitors left. So here's the question. How many visitors were in the Science Museum after the third hour? So one of the first things I would do is I would draw a picture. Some kids need to see that picture. There's my Science Museum. So 294 arrived, that means they're in the building. Okay, so I know this one's arrived. Then over here, 408 visitors arrived, so that one also goes in the building. Right here, I have 313 visitors arrived, so 313 arrived. Now I see a new keyword right there, arrived. So I will go back to my keywords chart and I would have the word arrived under adding, because those are all the ones that I'm going to add. And then if you look at the other side, I had 89 visitors that left. So I would show a picture that, hey, 89 are actually leaving the building now. And aside from 89, I have another 175 that also left. So again, I will go make sure, do I have the word left on my keywords, which I believe I do. I don't have the word left on there. Oh, it says how many are left, but I could add it on there into my keywords again, so it can be like a work in progress type of thing. So this problem will pretty much, we would end up doing is we would end up adding these 3. We can add all 3 of them together, and then after you're done adding, we would subtract. So that way it only becomes 2 steps. Because we would have some, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to add and then subtract. Add and subtract. So yeah, we would just add that and subtract that.